There was a man, once full of ambition and promise, who struggled every day to make his wife happy. He worked tirelessly, giving all his energy to support his family. He had 2 beautiful children, a boy and a baby girl, and he loved them deeply. Despite his intelligence, his life felt like a series of misfortunes that kept him stuck in a loop of failure. The harder he worked, the more it seemed like life turned its back on him. His wife, once full of love and dreams, began to grow distant. She couldn't understand his struggles. They argued often. She wanted stability, but all he could offer was hope and the promise of a better future. He believed in himself, his ideas, and the future they could have. But she was losing faith. One fateful day, after a heated argument, his wife filed for divorce, seeking custody of their children. Sitting outside the courtroom, tears streaming down his face, he begged her to wait a little longer. "Just a little more time," he pleaded. "One day, we will have everything we ever dreamed of. Trust me." But she refused to listen. The judge ruled in her favor, granting her custody of the children. She took them away, and with heavy heart, returned to her wealthy parents' home. Her parents welcomed her with open arms, and while they consoled her, they made it clear that they believed she had made the right choice. To them, leaving him seemed the best decision for her and their grandchildren. Meanwhile, the man, feeling like a failure, struggled to keep his head above water. His landlord came knocking, demanding he vacate the house. "You haven't paid rent for 4 months," the landlord scolded. He explained his situation, his broken family, and how he was doing everything in his power to make things right. But the landlord showed no sympathy, and his eviction was final. He found himself sitting alone on a bench outside, feeling utterly hopeless. As he stared at the ground, contemplating his future, a sleek, expensive car pulled up beside him. A man in his early 30s stepped out, handsome, confident, and exuding wealth. He walked up to the bench, a look of recognition on his face. "You're the man I've been looking for," he said, his voice filled with excitement. "For over a year now. I heard about your idea. You presented it to your boss, but they didn't get it. They didn't understand how brilliant it was. I was there when you tried to explain it. I was watching, and I knew your potential. I've got the resources, the team, and the vision. I want you to work with me." The man was taken aback. His eyes filled with doubt. His life was falling apart, and he couldn't fathom how someone could believe in him when he had lost everything else. "Why would you want someone like me?" he asked, shaking his head. "I'm a failure. My wife, my kids, they're gone. I'm nothing now." The rich man sat next to him, his face full of empathy. "You're not nothing. You are one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. I know the world didn't recognize your worth, but I do. Please, come with me. Let me show you what we can build together." The man was torn. His heart was broken over his family, but a part of him wanted to believe that there was a chance for something better. The rich man handed him his business card, saying, "I know, this is a lot to take in. Take your time, but please think about it. Call me when you're ready. I believe in you." For days he kept the card in his pocket. He was tempted to throw it away, but something inside him urged him to give it a chance. Finally, in a moment of desperation, he called the number on the card. The two met, and the man's idea, the one his boss had dismissed, was given the chance it deserved. With the resources and backing of the rich man, they began to build a business. The first few weeks were tough, but as time passed, things started falling into place. His idea, which had once been rejected, turned out to be the breakthrough they needed. They quickly gained traction, and within a month the company became incredibly successful. In a year's time, the company skyrocketed to become the #1 business in America. The man, once broken and hopeless, was now a co-owner, with 50% of the company's shares. He became one of the wealthiest men in New York City, the same man who had once been evicted from his home and left heartbroken outside a courtroom. His success didn't just change his financial situation, it changed his entire life. He became the man he had always known he could be. A man of vision, resilience, and determination. One day, as he stood on stage as the chief guest at an extravagant ceremony, he couldn't help but reflect on how far he had come. The venue was filled with the city's elites, and the atmosphere was electric. As he spoke, he glanced into the crowd. And then his eyes landed on her. His ex-wife, sitting in the audience, unaware that the man she had once loved was now the keynote speaker at this prestigious event. She was looking at him, but not with recognition. Her eyes were wide with disbelief. She had no idea who he had become. When she finally realized, her face paled in shock. She had left him, thinking he was nothing, just another man who couldn't provide. And yet, here he was, a symbol of success, standing at the very top. The rich life she had once craved was now his reality. As he continued his speech, he caught her eyes once more. He felt no anger, no resentment. Instead, he felt something else, a quiet sense of peace. He had fought for his family, for a better life, and he had finally found it. Whether she would ever realize his worth, or whether their paths would ever cross again, didn't matter. He had finally proven, not just to the world, but to himself, that no matter how hard life might seem, perseverance and belief in one's own strength could lead to greatness. And in the end, that was all that truly mattered.